Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Woke by Accident Podcast. I am your host, Jan Washington. This is a weekly chat about socially conscious topics impacting the culture. I would like to extend my gratitude in you listening to this podcast. It means everything to me, and I hope it is clear that this subject matter is so important to me. I care about our people, our future, and making a positive change in this nation. Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Woke by Accident Podcast. Today we have a special guest, Trey Styles, author of Black Boy Arise. And he is from the great city of Detroit. He's working on a new project, and he has graciously agreed to co-host the show today. Welcome to the show, Trey.
Thank you. I'm proud to be here, and I appreciate you for having me on your show once again.
Definitely glad to have you on the show, and definitely always good to connect with other content creators. So, yeah, I have a few topics I want to get your take on, so we will do that. This first one is about well, let me just give you the summary of this particular story about what happened back in 2015. Let's see. So the federal government was going to pay out 88 million to settle a case brought by the survivors of the Mother Emanuel AME church, families of the 9 victims murdered by a white supremacist back in 2015. We may remember Dylan Roof was responsible for the tragic murders in South Carolina, where several people were impacted, and so this is about a settlement that has been brought. And so for those killed in the shooting, the settlements will range from 6 million to 7.5 million per claimant. And so for the 5 survivors, the settlements are for 5 million. And then the settlement arose out of lawsuits filed by the victims and the family in the wake of the June 15th murder of the historic Mother Emanuel Church in downtown Charleston, where the convicted shooter, Dylan Roof, was sentenced to death in January of 2017. And so I know this was a few years back. I don't know if you remember. And then I found this part really interesting too, that basically the FBI, I guess the suit says that he really shouldn't have had a gun because that in the FBI background check, so he had a narcotics charge, and had they found that in the background check for the gun. Do you remember this
Yeah,
case, Trey?
yeah, I absolutely remember this case. I was very angry by what happened, and I was also, hurt by what happened because I mean, I was 6 lives, lost and tragically like that, and it just it's like this ongoing thing. So I definitely remember it because it was so much
Okay.
going on around that time. So I was definitely devastated by it.
Yeah, so just for someone to come into a church like that was just really shocking. I know after that, my mother didn't even want to go into church in person. This is before the pandemic, even. Just the thought of that someone would come in, to the house of worship and do something like that.
For me, I'll say it wasn't shocking for me because it's a history of this type of stuff happening.
Right.
I think sometimes many of us, not saying your mother necessarily, but I know many of us fall for the Kool-Aid that we live in this post-racial society. But in
Right.
reality, I know that's not the case, and I doubt that ever will be the case here in America. Because even if you just talk about the world, the whole world, in many respects, is arranged by color. I know it's different in different cities. I mean, not cities, but different countries throughout the world. But it didn't surprise me at all. I was more so surprised that many people were surprised by it because
Mm-hmm.
if you know anything about our history, a lot of times our churches were bombed. We were
Mm.
hung out right outside of churches on crosses and all kind of stuff. So it doesn't surprise me at all. I mean, so I was more so surprised that people was surprised by it and that we
That's
think that
true.
know,
But for it to happen in 2015, I mean, we're not expecting a church to be bombed in 2015, but white supremacy is still alive, and
Yeah,
so they are definitely, still out here just as they were in the 60s with church bombings, 4 little girls. There's several incidents that we can reference where churches were impacted. So I guess when you look at it like that, but it's just so disheartening to hear. So,
yeah, it
and
is.
then and then there was a significance in the amount of the settlement. I thought that was interesting too, for the 88 million um, in this article I referenced. Significance. So was it the eights? So for white supremacists, the eighth letter of the alphabet references Adolf Hitler, and Dylan Roof had number 88 on his shoes. And so that was significant in the $88 million amount that they went with. So that was kind of deep.
Yeah, it was,
Um,
that's kind of strange to me too,
it
because
is
I can't. That
strange.
is kind of strange.
It
Like,
is
I mean,
strange.
I don't know, because I look at it a whole nother way with these settlements that we get. The
Mm-hmm.
few of us that do get them, it's like, to me, it's no amount of money you can put on somebody's life, because I could think like
True.
my mother, people like her that's so close to me in my life. It's like having millions of dollars wouldn't mean nothing to me if I can't share it with her or help her get a better life, and she her to even the finer things in life. Let her go to places she never been. Let my grandma go to places they never been. So
Hmm.
for me, no amount of money you put on a life. Life is priceless.
That's true. That's true. I know one of my prior guests says that if you can't get charges on these people, bankrupt them though. Make them pay in some kind of way. You know what I mean? Like the city is responsible. Let them shell it out. I mean, at the very least, that's what they should do to
Yeah,
acknowledge the event, because it was such a significant event,
it
and
was.
they're responsible. Negligence in this FBI background check, which led to, if you want to just really say it, that caused this chain of events. So yeah.
I mean, I get that point. Like, okay, we can't get charged. At least we can get money from 'em. But then I mean, I'm not trying to go too deep, but even like how this country is, we're printing money. Like sometimes it's like it's nothing to come up with this money to pay them. And then the whole other thing, when you're talking about us, like when we get money, a lot of times we just get the money right back to them, because we don't have an economy, we don't have a community. So a lot of times, a lot of the money we get is going right back to them anyway. And what was strange to me when they said the 88 represents was like emblematic or whatever of Adolf Hitler. I'm not so sure about
Yes.
that. I'm not, but
Really?
if that
Okay.
if that if that is the case though, and they gave him 88 million, I mean, what kind of sign is that trying to give us? Like, okay, we we represent 88. He had the number 88 on his shoe, and we give him 88 million. So what is it saying to us? Like, symbolically or subconsciously, like the number 88. Like, what is he
Like
trying to
it's
say to
like
us
it's
here?
a nod towards him rather than.
Or to me, I'm thinking like, oh, okay, this white supremacy again. Oh, no, this how we do. We can just buy them off. We can just buy them off, and then they'll just forget about it, and then until somebody else did it again, and you know, we'll do it again and again and again. But
That's
only a few
true.
people actually really get charged or really convicted. So
Because he knew he wasn't going to get away with it. I mean, he didn't try to run away. You know what I mean? He knew exactly what he was coming in there to do. So, really, in his mind, it's success. His name is going to go down in history forever. You know what I mean? And a lot of people reference they took him to Burger King. That is like forever the narrative. So, in his mind, that may be success.
like he's like a martyr for white supremacy.
Exactly, exactly.
So
Because I think even part of the story was that some people did try to talk him out of it, and he just, yeah, it didn't work basically.
yeah, we know people make up their mind. Like it's when they make up their mind, and sometimes there's nothing you can do with anybody, whether it's good, bad, or whatever. Especially if that's what he believes. So if that's what he really believes and he lives, that's his principles. That I mean, that's what it is. Because on the flip side, nobody could talk Dr. King out from giving up the struggle, giving up the movement. Because
Right.
that was his life. That's what he lived by. The same with Brother Malcolm. That was his life. That was his principle. So I've heard stories of how someone tried to offer him money to sell out his people. It's even you can look on
Mm,
YouTube and find a video of the FBI going to Malcolm X's house trying to get him to turn against Elijah Muhammad, and he had a recorder on. That's
right.
actually on YouTube. They're trying to get him to
Mm,
turn against Elijah Muhammad, and he wouldn't do it. So whatever person's principle is, whether you agree with them or not, whether it's good or bad, if they believe that, at the end of the day, there's nothing you can really do to stop them from doing what they're intended on doing, unless I guess in the way you get to them before they get to you. And that's just the reality of the situation. But I wouldn't be
that's
surprised
true.
if it,
That's true.
I wouldn't surprised. I know you said FBI. Forgive me for saying I wouldn't be surprised if it was a total plant, like
Mm.
from higher ups. I wouldn't be
Oh
surprised by
yeah,
that.
like this wasn't his big idea to do this. He
Yeah,
was just the pawn
the
and
pond in the game.
hitman. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Because he already had a narcotics charge. I mean, what was he really trying to accomplish? I mean, he's trying to start a race war, but maybe like did they even look further into that? Like, is there some other bigger plan?
yeah,
He didn't pull this off just by himself, or did he? You know what I
right,
mean?
right, right.
So,
And I wouldn't put it past either way. But I know with him being so young, and it don't take away what he did, but just being impressionable.
hmm,
Sometimes what the cops or the feds sometimes will do get people who have charges or something like that, and they become in a way they snitch sometimes, and they say, okay, you do this, this ain't gonna happen. You get off of this, you get this type of money, and some people can get food. Not saying he did, but sometimes people get food and they'll play you. You know what I'm saying? And then how you
right.
gonna, and who you gonna hire to go up against the people who run in the country? so so
Yeah,
so
he
it
had.
could be very very complex stuff. But he was beyond wrong, and I'm not giving a slap on the wrist for anything because
Oh no,
too
yeah.
many of us are losing our lives. And people just think they can give us money and just forget about us, but that's not the case. Not the case with me, and I don't think it's the case with you.
That's true. Our lives are worth more. And he was so young, like you said, he had just turned 21 to throw his whole life away for something like that. But of course, in his mind, it may have been success if that was, you know, his mission and plan. So it's just misfortunate all the way around. But yeah, and then I think one of the in the article, one of the people said they don't even, the money. I want my spouse back. I want my person back. So yeah, money is just really a small. It doesn't solve it. It's not going to heal that situation.
Not at all.
But it's a symbol. So I mean, you know, it's a symbol or something like that. I feel that because you see like when Benjamin Crump goes after these different cases, that a settlement is usually a part of it. So I feel like it's just it sets a tone. I guess it makes these cities and these police departments think twice, perhaps.
Um,
Right?
I, I'm, I mean, do I think it makes some things twice? Because I would say no, because
Because
so
it's
much
not their
stuff.
money. They don't
It's
care.
not their money, and so much has happened after that. And what happened with the Dylan Roof situation is just something that was on record. That's just one of the things that was on record.
Yeah.
It's things happen to us right now today that's not on record. Things we are unaware. I remember when I was in New Orleans last year at the Mardi Gras right before COVID shut everything down, and there was a
Hmm.
sister I met. She was from Alabama, and we went to a plantation. And we went to a plantation they had down there. It was a sugar cane plantation, and we was looking at some of
Hmm.
the pictures they had, like the slave shacks and all that. She told me like in some places in Alabama, she said it's still houses standing like that. So I mean, just
Hmm.
to think that some of us are still in those conditions, and we know being from St. Louis and Detroit, we know we have a lot of poverty in these places, but let's say she said it's still houses just like that. houses that you wouldn't think is standing, people are still living like that. So, that was something that I wasn't totally aware of. Although I'm not surprised that we are living in poverty, I wasn't totally unaware that we were still living in houses like that down there. Some of our people. So, but the thing that go on with this racism and these racist attacks, it doesn't surprise me at all because I can tell you firsthand, like being from Detroit, the blackest major city in America. I know when
Mm-hmm.
you cross 8 Mile, it's a totally different world. You can stand on this side of 8 Mile and see none but black people, and on that side you see nothing but white people. And I know some black people when we go across 8 Mile, we in the city, some of us bobbing our head to the music, got the music turned up loud in the car, but as soon as they cross 8 Mile, they'll turn the hat around sometimes, take the hat off, turn the
Mm-hmm.
music down because it's like a different world up there. And a whole another thing we talk about, like in Michigan, because we got the Michigan, like some people kind of say it's like two states in one, because you got the Upper Peninsula and all that. Up there is a
Mm-hmm.
whole another world too. You get caught up
Really?
there. Yeah, so
Okay.
it doesn't surprise, but I mean I know when we say okay, I understand the settlement part, but if they just think they can just okay give us money, and I think it's because of a lot what has happened to our community, the how we've been targeted since we've been here. Even though I say a lot of us was here before that, but that's a whole another conversation. But we've been
Mm-hmm.
targeted since we've been here, and it's like constant attacks on the black community. Where a lot of us a lot of us have lost our I say our soul in what
Mm-hmm.
it's like people just so willing to sell out. Like look at the artists and all these people. Like we're just willing to sell out so much. So it's like okay, you can take my loved one's life and you can pay me, and that'll be enough for that. And I know it's not what you're saying. I understand what the other lady was saying, and I understand that part. But
Right.
it's like how much more can we do to these people before they uprise or they decide that nothing's going to change, or we're going to organize and they're going to build their own communities before we keep before before we basically just totally destroy them. Because I just think somewhere the line got to be drawn, and until then these things are going to continue to happen.
Right. That's a good point. Like you said, people might turn around and just give the money right back, buy a car or something pointless and useless. I would like to think that they, would maybe have some sort of endowment in the memory of some of these people or a scholarship fund or some sort of um, legacy type of building gesture with it. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see what becomes of or what they decide to do with the money because it is blood money. It won't bring their loved one back, but you know it's a gesture that's significant and symbolic of the events of what occurred. So I feel like they should have it. I feel like the family should definitely have it
Oh, yeah, I agree.
at the
I agree they
least.
should get the money. No, it does make sense. I agree they should get the money.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I definitely agree that they should get that. I just was saying that we can't let them think that okay, they can do this and this is okay. Now, I agree
Right.
with you. They definitely should get the money. I think it's their way of saying, uh, okay, we took a life. Here's the money. That's how I look at it all. I mean, okay,
Yeah.
well, we took his life. Here, we give you some money for it. But
Right.
I
And
understand. I
some
think they should have
people,
got something.
yeah, and so this one person may move away and never come back. But I think it's important to rebuild right there where it happened to, and and stay. So yeah, and I guess it's just a different perspective because I guess if part of me wants to say, oh, I would just move away and try to just start another life and don't think about it, but then actually I feel like I would want to
Yeah.
stay and build it up. Such a terrible tragedy, he may not have been a one man plan, you know what I mean? And
Hmm.
so show that lay down to that or that he won, you know what I mean? So
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's very important. And the thing about it is like when you do leave, sometimes it's not like you can run from your problems. It's not like we, some a lot of us think we can do that. We think we can do that through drugs, through sex, through food.
Hmm.
But you leaving your state, leaving your city, sometimes say, I'm getting up out of. Say if it happened in St. Louis, Detroit, I'm leaving Detroit, I'm leaving St. Louis. Okay, you
Mm-hmm.
leave Detroit, you leave St. Louis, so that happened there. Or where you gonna go? So you think you're gonna go into a white community and then you're gonna be feel more safe there? Something like some people that's their logic. Like I'm gonna go to here and I'm gonna feel more safe here. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, you think so? You feel more safe there. That gives you the illusion of it. But I agree with I would build at home, like you say, and do something for my community, like a foundation or something that would could help build up. Like even if it's starting certain scholarships for people that was these underprivileged youth out here. I remember when
Yeah.
I worked as a youth counselor, and I remember he said it jokingly, but I think he was being serious. This guy that worked there, he said it was one of the youths had I forgot, it was some kind of accident had happened, and one of my coworkers was like, "Oh, I forgot the guy. I think the guy she said, oh, she said is I think his name was Sean." I said, "Sean." She said, "Sean's dead." He was like, "Yeah," and then the guy's like, "Yeah, Sean's dead, but his family got like $100,000 or something like that. I guess that's
Mm.
good because he would have never made that type of money in his life."
Oh God.
And I was like, damn,
Sheesh.
he smirked and said it, but I know he really meant that. And
Mm-hmm.
the thing is, all us that said that we were all black. All us that
Mm-hmm.
was in there, we never said we were all black. So I'm like, wow. So man, he would never made $100,000. That's all you think about. You putting a price on the life. You know what I mean? So like, yeah. So it's just like, I mean, we just not the same. Me and you. Our people are just different now. We even
Right.
compared to how we was in the '90s. It's
Mm-hmm.
just
Mm-hmm.
we different now. I think we we definitely got to get back to having a soul. You know,
That's
being
true.
more caring about each other and just knowing that you can't put no price on the life though.
And you can't. And money is not everything, and it doesn't define you totally. It doesn't. I know my mom told me all the time that there's people in this neighborhood that only make 30 or 40,000, and they take care of their house. They send their kids to school. They send their kids to college, and they have everything they need. You don't necessarily need 100 grand. It'd be great to have, but you know people make it work with
Yeah,
less, and I just feel like that's just a survivor, and us. So yeah, let's look at this other story. This one, the gentleman had suffered mental illness, and so I wanted to get your thoughts on the mental health aspect of it. So Georgia. It was Georgia. So in Fulton County, the grand jury decided that they would indict two officers in the 2016 death of Jamarian Robinson. He was shot 76 times during a law enforcement raid at his girlfriend's East Point apartment. So that was Georgia. Um, so the charge. So they have two counts of felony murder. Eric Heinze and Christopher Hutchins were both indicted on 6 counts: aggravated assault, burglary, and 2 counts of each making false statements in violation of an oath of a public officer. And so, yeah, this happened July 28th, 2016. Jamarian Robinson was inside the apartment, and they stormed in and shot him 76 times. He was 26 years old. His family stated that he suffered mental illness issues, and so they have been waiting all this time to get some sort of um, justice against the officers, because I guess they were going there to was it a drug matter, or because it was a raid situation, but 76 times, I mean, that's excessive. We thought the raid on Breonna Taylor was excessive, but this one, I mean, 76 is like no one really like examined it. That should have been like an investigation back then.
there been an examination back then, and this something that multiple shots and having plenty of times. I still remember the case where even though he was in the car with Sean Bell. I know you
Mhm.
remember that. I think in New York,
Yeah. Mhm.
well, they shot him like 50 car like 50 times or something like that. With that,
Yeah. Yeah.
but talking about this case specifically, like 76 times, I'm like wow. Like I mean, that's shooting 76 times. You intent on killing them. You know, I
Right.
mean, you got intentions to kill to shoot somebody 76 times, or at least even shooting they vicinity 76 times. But I think it's it's terrible. But I was thinking when you said that they had mental health problems,
Mhm.
and that's a real issue because I battled mental health issues that I talked about on one of your earlier episodes. And I know
Yes.
firsthand that it's a real thing, and I know in our community it's something that we don't talk about in particular. But I know in America in general, mental health is a real issue. I think back
Yes.
to Ronald Reagan's administration when it closed a lot of the mental health institutions down in America.
Mhm.
And so you got people that's on the street homeless. You got people who have all kind of problems, which leads to all kind of issues with rape, with robbery, all
Mhm.
those things that contribute to that. People who's mentally ill, and when you have someone who's mentally ill, we live in a country where a lot of times that you know a country don't have a moral conscience, but a lot of people are just about themselves, and so when you got somebody who has mental health issues, they a lot of times they don't have the help that they need.
Right. That's true.
But sometimes people don't know when you're mentally ill, and I know this is not the case. I'm saying like just say if somebody's mentally ill coming to you on the street and you don't know in particular that they're
Mhm.
mentally ill, your first instinct is gonna be to defend yourself because self preservation is the first law of human nature. So you got people that's mentally ill and people in their family sometimes like they have problems. Like I remember going to school, it's like these people have problems, but these people you don't know if you have a student that's coming to try to bite you or try to grab you. You just defend yourself and you don't be
Mhm.
knowing what their issue is. So they had like more of these mental health institutions that were open and were able to help people. They could alleviate those type of problems with people that's mentally unstable getting
Mhm.
hurt. And I'm not saying that about this case because that was just ridiculous. But I did want to just mention that like that's a real problem with mental health in
It
America.
is. It
But
is.
to shoot him 76 times, like I said, they were just intent on killing him. And I just like that's very disheartening because like just somebody coming into your house and shoot you 76 times. Like I don't know if it talked about in the paper that you read or the news article that you read. Did it say anything about them knocking or they have a warrant for his arrest or was anything of that nature?
So I think it was they were there to serve a warrant and they came with marshals. So I'm envisioning it kind of like the Breonna Taylor situation where battery ram and just stormed in. Um, which if it's an apartment complex, it's kind of the same situation where you don't have any regard for the upper and low, the surrounding neighbors, which were some of the charges in the Breonna Taylor case. But this for actually get an indictment for murder on this case was surprising. But I mean, I guess it was more shots on this one because actually none of the charges um well, actually, what are these charges? Is it? I guess it's not murder. It's aggravated assault. It's not murder. It's just the aggravated assault for the shots, but not for his death. So that's interesting. So not even it's not for his death. It's the way that they came in and for the
Just
raid.
you
Yeah.
just came basically raid and intending on killing us, and that's like wow, they're not even so he's not really even being charged for the murder. It's really
They're
the
not.
assault. Like, so it's like
So
so I guess if you shot him 10 times would have been okay. You know what I'm saying?
right. And I mean, I guess
So
the
yeah,
family sees it as a victory because I'm seeing all these stories that, they're celebrating, but just to have them be held responsible in some capacity, but it's not for their death. It's not for his death. Um, so that kind of sucks. But for
yes,
Georgia, for them to take an officer and a marshal in, that's huge. So, I mean, it's got to be some sort of, you know, win for the case, I would imagine.
Well, I'm gonna say this, my sister. I'll say this. I will say this. One thing we ought to always got to be mindful of history is that sometimes there's sacrifice one every now and again.
Mm,
There's sacrifice one every now and again to make people think oh, we give you a little bit of hope. It's a little bit of progress being made when it's really not. Malcolm X once said when they asked him, "Do you think his progress is being made?" He said, "If somebody has a knife 9 inches in my back and they take it out 3 inches, I don't think there's no progress."
oh Lord, brother Malcolm, what?
Y'all know, but I'm just saying, like, so I mean, they will sacrifice one here and there. I mean, you see it like with what's it like with the George Floyd case, George,
Hmm.
so they sacrifice one every now and again, to make people think it's progress. But for every one that they sacrifices, 20, 30, or 100 more that's getting off.
That's true. And then there was another thing, and I slid over that on the other case with the settlement. The Justice Department admits no fault because so he was like, even though he got this gun, he wasn't supposed to have it. We By you
I kind
taking this money, there's no
of like
fault.
it. See, it's kind of like you get in the way you selling out and they buying you out. It's like
Oh yeah, and then usually there's some clause in there that they can't say anything bad about the Justice Department or the police department for accepting the settlement too. Usually it's always they're not accepting fault, and then they can't publicly have go on a interview spree talking bad about the department for taking the money.
I think about I forgot whose mother it was when someone was killed, and their mama it was a sister too, and
Hmm.
she refused to forgive them for what they did to her child. I forgot who mother it was, but people's like, yeah, she's still firm, like she's not forgiving them, she's not taking on those concessions or nothing like that.
Hmm.
She's standing strong. I forgot whose mother it was exactly. It was in my mind.
I
Maybe to come
wonder
back
is
to me
that
before we
Ahmaud
go.
Arbery, because I mean his mother has really, and it's taken so long to. I mean, and that trial is going on right now. I think it was a lot of news about trying really be able to get a fair jury because everybody in the town knows about the case or they know those people responsible personally. The little small town in Georgia.
That was that the case when he was jogging out there? Was that
Yeah.
what- that
Hmm.
no, that I saw that video. That was like wow. I mean, like they hunted him down like he was like a hog or something. Like he was, like
Yeah, while the one guy stood there recording the whole thing, like for his sick pleasure or something. It's just really sick. And then the father and son, he was a former officer, so it's just like, what are you doing? And then they arrested the DA. I mean, it's just like a whole sick little web. Um, I mean, she's gonna get the fact that they even arrested her is,
yeah, and
significant.
and I would say also I think like when
Yeah.
we what happened with that case when they was kind of like basically hunting them down and he was recording it like with something cool.
Okay.
That's kind of put me in
Stable
mind
here.
like what they used to do when it would be you ever notice when our ancestors was being lynched, there'd be a whole crowd of people. Like it was a special event or something like that. And they would
Yeah.
take pieces of their body and keep it like it was a souvenir, like we was just animal. And that's the problem, like how black people are viewed. Like we still considered on 3/5 of a human being in this
Oh
country. We're
wow.
not really, yeah, like we're not really considered human beings. And we consider 3/5 of a person. So like so we on the level of cattle and animals, like the lower animals, and sometimes even lower than that. Because you see how some people, many white people, I'm gonna say, will come out like in large numbers when you know maybe if it's like a dogs being harmed or something like that. Sometimes many of them, be very serious about that, but not when it's us being harmed and stuff like that. But that's still like
That's
from the
true.
inception of this country, we were not really considered full human beings. We only considered 3/5 of a person, and
Oh my god,
and
that
that's
that just yeah, that just clicked in my
yeah,
mind when you said
yeah.
that
So
is
it's
like
like
them standing around watching for him to have, a memento to
Yeah,
watch later and show his friends and brag about later.
yeah, that's like what word like even the word what's that picnic like derived
Mm,
from like pick a I don't know if you pick a what, and then
yeah.
so you it's just crazy.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
I could tell you firsthand, like I know like it's just like and it's so crazy because when people destroy your image in the media, it's like they portray black people, but black males specifically as like we animals and we all aggressive and we all are violent. So when
Mhm.
stuff like this happens to us, it's like, okay, well, he was dealing with a black male. So it's understandable they did that because black males are this way. I remember working as a valet driver when I was younger, was even a little bit younger, and it was some Bengali guys I worked with, and it was one he was cool, but he asked me, said, my friends told me that black guys in this country they'll hit you real fast. Like we will attack them, like we fight quick, we quick to fight and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And I told him like, I mean, well, it's a stereotype because that's not all of us,
Right.
like we not crazy animals and nothing like that. You know, every group has idiots in their group. We all have a holes in our group or
Right.
whatnot. So I told him that. So that's the image that's been shown around the world of us. Like even in other countries where other black people, they say they show black women always half naked and dancing. And when I remember a sister I was in school with said she went over to some country, all the people around her just asking her to dance like the girls on the videos do. So it's
Mhm.
like when people control your image, like you don't control the media, they control your narrative, and they can make us believe it's about ourselves sometimes.
That's
Like
true.
you from St. Louis, I'm from Detroit. I can count how many times being in Detroit, I don't walk up the street and nobody bothered me. Most times, don't nobody bother me. You know, most times people don't bother me. Now it has been times you walk up the streets. We young, these guys feeling themselves. They try to test you because they insecure. You insecure. You want to test your muscles and see, are you tough? I get that
Mhm.
part, but a lot of times we walk around and we don't hurt each other. We don't bother each other.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
I'm just saying, like, it's just that narrative when you destroy a people's image and all that, then it's like, okay, we could do anything to these people. And then when you can constantly, attack people, attack us, and we willing to take money, instead of fighting it
That's
and
true.
refusing, it gives a narrative, oh, you can do anything to black people, and they'll fuss about it a little bit. Occasionally, you can get some of them a few dollars, and that's it. But
Mhm.
I mean, when I was younger, I heard this rumor that like back in the day, say like if you give a black man a job back in the day, he'd sell his soul to you. And I'm like wow, that's it's just it is frustrating, and sometimes it makes it hard for those of us who do care to
Right.
try to to keep that love, to keep that passion, because it wears on you. I remember even
Mhm.
seeing teachers who was trying to help us, who had our best interests at heart, and she would ask us. She was African descendant. She said, "Y'all don't care." She said, "Well, I don't care either." That's what she said to us in front of the school. But next, before you knew it, she was back trying to help us again. But it was
Yeah.
frustrating. But it was frustrating to her because a lot of students act like we didn't care. It was my
Right.
favorite class, but it's like they dealing with so much at home. We all going through so much. It's just layers and layers of oppression that we're dealing with. We dealing with enemies outside and we're dealing with enemies within because we do got black enemies of black people too.
Right. All skin folk and kin folk. Come
Right
on.
about that.
Come on.
Right about that.
Zornil Hurston. Oh boy.
Oh yeah, oh, yeah, yeah. She's a good. That's a great writer too.
Mhm.
I like how she wrote in our dialect. How she wrote, as like that was like ahead of her time. She was ahead of her time when she did that.
I know. I think someone even named their podcast that, and I was like, "Ah, that was a dope.
Yeah, yeah.
That would have been a good one."
Hmm.
So yeah, okay. Well, I appreciate you going over those stories. Tell us about your podcast and what you're working on next,
Oh, my
briefly.
podcast. Oh, okay, okay, okay. Well, my podcast is called Black Man Talk. One word, not Black Men Talk. Nobody. It's Black Man Talk. It's one word. You can find it on YouTube, Spotify, and all other social media platforms. The best way to get in contact with me right now is email. My email is Trey Styles 978 at gmail.com. And currently, I'm working on a new project. Got my second book coming out. My first novel though, and it should be out in a couple months. And it's a story about a brother from the city of Detroit who who goes through what many men go through in their life. Though I'm gonna say that, and many men are not honest about how they deal with these things. But in the process of them
Okay.
dealing with this tough event, it's a lot of things that happen that makes his life even tougher. It makes his decision making even harder.
Mm.
You know, you go through one thing and you're like, okay, I'm dealing with this, and then something else happens. You're like, wow, like I haven't even dealt with this totally, but now I got to deal with this. I got to deal with that. So he goes through a lot of stuff, and it's a test of his mettle. It's a real test of his mettle.
Hmm.
You know, some people break, some people fall, but he has to, put his I would say he has to toughen it out, and but he goes through a lot of stuff that a lot of people would have went through and they would have broke. So it's really a test of his mettle what he goes through to make
Okay.
it out on top.
Nice. Okay. Well, we'll have to have you back on to tell us. Well, when it's ready. You said a
You
couple more
know,
months, right? Okay.
yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Right on. So, okay, we'll have the link posted for the YouTube. I enjoy your YouTube. So we'll have that posted for everybody to check that out. And then let's see what else. Oh, you said your email is the best way. You're still taking your sabbatical.
I'm taking my sabbatical right now, so
Okay.
but just in case if you do write my name down, my name on Facebook is Trey Styles. On Instagram is Trey Styles as well. So you can find me on Instagram. That's Trey Styles.
Okay. Cool. All right, guys. So, anything else to share?
Oh no, I really thank you for having me on your platform. I think this was a much needed conversation. I think this should be a national and discussion and an international discussion. So it's, something that's really important, something that we
Yeah.
we must address. Because I don't have enough people talking about this type of stuff. How people can put money on us, and that's enough. But then we got to also keep in mind the country you're dealing with. How in America, in many respects, money is considered God in reality. I guess some people think
Hmm.
the power of the dollar is enough
That's true. What is
to bring anybody on.
your personal value?
But this is a good start. This is a start though. You never know.
It is. It is. All right. Well, I appreciate your uh, being on the show and sharing your perspective and having me on your platform not too long ago. So I'm
Absolutely.
looking forward to that content, and we'll
All right.
have to share that, guys, because I was featured on Trey's show. So we'll share that very soon. Much success to you. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
All right. Thanks for having me.
For sure. All right, guys. Have a great one. Thanks for listening.
At this time, we are going to go ahead and conclude this episode. We do appreciate you listening. We do invite you to follow us on social media. On Instagram, it is Woke by Accident Podcast. On Twitter, it is Woke by. The Gmail is wokebyaccident at gmail.com. And we are available on all of your favorite streaming platforms. Please go out and follow us, share, leave a review, tell a friend. And every time you listen, we greatly appreciate it. Thank you again, and take care.